ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਸ ਖਾਸ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਰੁਪਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ। 24 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੀਆਂ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪਲ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਹੋਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਿਟੀ ਜਿਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਹੈ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ। ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ 40 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚਿਹਰੇ ਮੈਦਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ। ਗੱਲ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਚੋਣ ਦੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੀ ਚੋਣ ਲਈ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ 6 ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਏ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਬਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਮੇਅਰ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਮੇਅਰ ਲਈ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। Hello and welcome to the studio.
Great to be here in the studio with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I would like to know, if you look back at your 4 years, what do you think your achievements are, or should I say, what have you given to Brampton?
So I think we've seen some incredible achievement in the last 4 years. For too long, Brampton was quiet, polite. I ruffled feathers. I got on the news and I fought for our city. When I look back at the last 4 years, we finally have a new hospital that has been tendered. The construction starts this year, $1 billion investment in the downtown. Why? We pushed for it. We declared a healthcare emergency and we sparked the conversation at Queen's Park. We pushed for a university. Now we're getting a medical school, the first new medical school in 100 years in GTA. On top of that, we've added 180 police officers. A new regional police division has been approved for the northwest of the city. On top of that, I have to say we've diversified recreation. Massive investments in cricket and field hockey, new community center approved for the west end of the city, Riverstone in the east end opening up on October 3rd. And we've been really aggressive on economic development. Major companies picking Brampton for their expansions. We've got MDA, the Canada Space Arm, massive headquarters, 800 rocket science jobs. We have Boston Scientific, medical technology, the new Electra facility. Not to mention we saved our auto plant with funding to electrify the plant so we can produce electric cars now. So this has been a time of success for Brampton, but we need to keep that momentum going. I want to make sure that Brampton can continue in the right direction.
But to keep that momentum going, what is your plan for the next 4 years?
Well, part of the recipe of our success in the last 4 years was to stand tall, to fight for Brampton, to make sure we get our fair share. But it was also about, we, for the first time in 19 years, we froze municipal property taxes. I said if we kept taxes competitive, if we cut red tape, then we could bring business to Brampton. And the type of wins we've had with Boston Scientific, Electra, Stellantis, and MDA, we can continue to bring jobs like that to Brampton. But only if we make sure the environment for investment is conducive. And so I want to continue to make sure taxes are competitive and that we get rid of red tape.
But as you mentioned, like Brampton is the 9th largest city. But how can we call it a developed city? You mentioned second hospital is coming up, but that is Peel Memorial, which is not a full-fledged hospital. When the announcement was made, we saw the shovels on the ground. But after that, we didn't saw any construction going on. You mentioned university coming up, but when the university was announced, few days we heard university is coming, then not coming, coming, not coming. People are still confused whether they will get Brampton, they will get university in Brampton or not.
So a little bit of confusion there. So before my time as mayor, there was an urgent care clinic at Peel Memorial. No hospital, urgent care clinic. Councillor Harkirat Singh and myself declared a healthcare emergency to really push the province to understand we had an issue here. Normally you declare an emergency if there's a tornado or a train derailment, but we did it to really get Queen's Park talking about what we needed. In last year's provincial budget, they tendered the largest healthcare investment in Brampton history. And the tender has now been issued. It's on the Infrastructure Ontario website for a new hospital on the empty field next to the old Peel Memorial, which was decommissioned in 2006. So the new hospital will be a full-service hospital, 350 beds, 24/7 emergency care. It's a $1 billion project. Will it solve all our healthcare problems? No. But is it a massive step in the right direction? Yes. Finally, we're getting a second hospital. There has been no shovels in the ground there yet. It's only starting this year. They're doing the environmental work, and the construction work will follow. It's going to be a 5-year construction project, but I wish it happened 20 years ago, but at least we finally got the second hospital coming now. We also got approval for a regional cancer center at Brampton Civic. In terms of the university, I want to see a university in Brampton. I want to see a Brampton University. I'm going to continue to push the province to give us our university. So far, they haven't given us a university. The Premier said, I can't give you a university yet, but how does a med school sound? And I said, I'll take your med school, but I'm still going to push for a university. The med school is exciting. First new med school in the GTA in 100 years. And if you asked people 4 years ago if they thought we could land a med school, they would have thought that's preposterous. But we got a med school, first class 2025 with a new metropolitan university. So that's a major academic win. Not to mention, Sheridan is having a health and wellness expansion. Algoma University has had major expansions in the downtown in computer science and aviation. And Guelph Humber wants to come to Brampton now. And so we went from having nothing happening on the university front to now there's a buzz of activity and interest. And I really want to thank Councillor Harkirat Singh and Rowena Santos because they stepped up on this file. There was a bunch of councillors who said we don't need a university, why bother trying? But Councillor Santos and Councillor Singh said let's fight for this. Our residents, young people in Brampton, deserve to have the same options for academics that a young person would in Waterloo or Kingston, some of these smaller communities that have great academic institutions. I'd say if it wasn't for Councillor Singh and Councillor Santos being determined and not willing to give up on this project, there'd be no medical school today in Brampton. We have one coming because of them.
But as you mentioned for the hospital, that construction project is for 5 years. Maybe in next 5-6 years, if we see a hospital up and running, how will we solve the problem of shortage of doctors and nurses?
So right now, it takes 5 years to build a hospital. $1 billion is a massive construction project. It's a 5-year construction build. In terms of the shortage of physicians, the way the provincial funding formula works, it's tied to hospital beds and hospital capacity. And so the funding formula, that would be set by the province. We can't change that municipally. We did contribute $125 million into the building of the new hospital. So we, as a city, we've gone above and beyond to contribute to this new hospital.
Okay, since the campaign began, we have been talking to so many residents to know more about the issues of the Brampton. We have been interviewing candidates also. Every candidate is saying they want a transparency and accountability in the mayor's office. So what do you think, what went wrong that candidates are saying this thing, that they are looking for transparency and accountability in mayor's office? So
listen, I think candidates running for office, and good on them, there's 4 or 5 candidates running for the mayor's position. And that's democracy. And I think they have to find something to say, so they'll say anything. But I would also say at the same time, no mayor in Brampton history has been as transparent as I have. I actually went out of the way during the last 4 years to hold regular press conferences every Wednesday morning to answer questions of the press. Done more press conferences.
But that was only during the COVID time, for the COVID updates.
No, we've done it COVID, public safety, healthcare. I've done more press conferences than any mayor in Brampton history. I'm proud to say that. I want to be accessible to the public. I've also done teletown halls for all residents of Brampton to ask any question. We've done teletown halls on all 4 of our budgets. We've done town halls on public safety. We've done town halls on COVID. I have hosted more town halls during my 4 years as mayor than any mayor of Brampton during the duration of their time as mayor. And I'm proud to be accessible. I'm proud that we've had these town halls and press conferences because I do believe the best way to instill confidence in a city is to be transparent, is to be accessible, is to be accountable to any question that is brought up.
Mayor Brown, we have a lot more issues to talk about, but right now it's time for a short break. एक छोटी जी ब्रेक लेनी है ते बहुत जल्द ब्रेक तो बाद वापस आने हैं. after this tenure of your 4 years, what do you think the issues are still there, which are still need to be addressed?
Well, listen, I've got more ambitions for the city. I eventually want to see a third hospital. I want to see our own university. I want to continue in economic development. Right now, I'm working with Chief Nish to get a new regional police division built in the west end of the city. Long term, we're going to need a regional police station in the east end too. I've had some fights around the regional council table pushing for more police resources. You know, there's some folks out there that want to defund the police or cut the police budget. Listen, my position is we do not have enough officers to respond to the call volumes we have. I want to support the chief to have all the resources he needs to respond to the calls today. So I'm pushing back against those who say defund the police. I think they're out to lunch. People that say defund the police do not understand that right now our chief of police, he has to tier calls. He has to pick which 911 calls he can send an officer to, because he does not have an officer to send to every 911 call, which means non-violent calls, auto thefts, break and enters, he doesn't have available police officers to send. So we need more police officers. I think these people that want to diminish the police budget, they have no idea the challenges we face. We're not a small town anymore. We're a big city, and there's big city challenges.
But this policing issue, why this was not solved being in power?
So I've added 180 police officers to the Peel Police budget during my 4 years, and that's been a fight. You know, I'm one vote around the table, and there are some councillors of the region of Peel who do not share my perspective when it comes to the importance of giving the police the resources to do their job. One thing that I'm hoping for is that after this election, there'll be more councillors elected who share my opinion that we need to give the police the resources to do their job and respond to the calls.
Okay, I'm the resident of Brampton. I'm afraid, like, God forbid, if my car gets stolen tomorrow morning, or if I met an accident, I'm not sure whether police gonna turn up or not. How do you assure me as a resident of Brampton, if you are elected again, these kind of problems will be solved?
Well, one thing I would tell you, it's very important, you know, to elect councillors that support the mayor. Because if I'm mayor and I have a majority of councillors, I will support the police budget. I will support Chief Nish's requests. But at the end of the day, we need to build a majority. And so please, my message to Bramptonians who want public safety to be taken more seriously, make sure that you have, when candidates come to your door, ask them if they support the mayor's agenda to support Chief Nish. Chief Nish says he needs 250 officers over the next 4 years. I'll be crystal clear. Unequivocally, I support the chief's request. And I hope that there'll be councillors around the table that support the chief's request as well. My vote will be towards supporting Chief Nish's request for more officers.
But the voters, they are raising a concern that whenever there are elections, whenever they raise an issue, if it's a federal election, they say it's a matter of province. Whenever it's a provincial election, they say it's a matter of a city. Whenever it's a city election, they say it's a matter of provincial or federal government. But the issues are still there.
So this is not a provincial or federal issue. This is a local issue. This is a city issue. And so the mayor gets a vote around the table, the councillors get a vote, and I'm pushing. I hope that we can get a majority that will say, yes, we're going to support the chief's budget. Yes, we're going to support more officers. I know that there are different priorities and different areas that people want to spend money on. But my message consistently has been around the table, you cannot cut corners when it comes to policing. You know, right now, we only have 5 officers assigned. 5 officers assigned to auto thefts for the entire region of Peel. I pushed that I want to see 15, but I need support for that. And so I hope that we get a great team elected around the table to make sure that we give Chief Nish every tool he needs to keep Peel Region safe.
Okay. We have always seen the voting percentage in the municipal elections is very low. So how will you make sure that youth come out to vote?
So historically in Canada, federal elections have the highest voter participation, followed by provincial and then municipal. And then frankly, if you look at the provinces, Atlantic Canada has the highest voter turnout, and we see voter turnout dwindle in other parts of the country. I'm going to do my best to encourage a high voter turnout. Don't let someone else be your voice. make sure your voice is heard. And you know, I wrote the province. The province has had voting day this year on Diwali and
Diwali
Bandi
Day.
Jor Divas, and
Yes.
so I asked them if they would change the date. They said they can't because it's in the legislation. But given the fact the province won't change the date, I'm encouraging everyone to please get out to the advanced polls and vote. Democracy is the core of our society that allows for that representative function to really reflect our views and aspirations. And so please participate.
Thank you so much, Patrick Brown, for coming to our studio and discussing about the whole election platform. At the end, what would you like to say to your voters why they should come out and vote Patrick Brown?
Well, I say to residents of Brampton, we've seen a ton of success over the last 4 years. We froze taxes, cut red tape, brought in massive new investments. We managed to lobby successfully for a hospital, a med school, added 180 police officers, a new police division, and not just on local issues. During my time, we fought and stood up on a national level. When Brampton wasn't getting vaccines, I fought for our city and got us vaccines. When Brampton was being pushed down for having a higher COVID positivity rate, I fought back and said the reason we had a higher positivity rate was because we had more essential workers than anywhere else in the country, and it was Bramptonians that kept the country together with our supply chain. If our essential workers weren't working in food processing and logistics, Canada's supply chain would have been in tatters. I will always stand up for this city. And even further, when I've seen intolerance, hate, and bigotry and discrimination, I have been the most ferocious voice against it. Look at Bill 21 in Quebec, a bill that says you can't wear a turban or a hijab and be a government worker. When everyone else was silent, I led the charge to make sure we could challenge that bill in the Supreme Court, because I do not want to see a precedent in our country that discriminates based on your faith. No one in this country should ever lose their job based on their faith. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, and we do not have second-class citizenship. Some people will be silent. Some people will sit on the sidelines. I will never sit on the sidelines. I will fight for what is right. I will fight for Brampton.
Thank you, Patrick Brown, but I have a question because I heard your plan. People, voters of Brampton, they have a confusion that if they vote you today, if they vote to your policies, your plan, your platform, what if tomorrow there are federal elections or provincial election, you leave your Brampton seat and you run for federal elections? So what will happen to the Bramptonians then?
So I can answer that right here. I'm not going to run in the federal elections.
Okay.
My commitment is to the city of Brampton.
And what about the provincial election?
I'm not going to run the provincial elections. My commitment is to the city of Brampton.
Okay, thank you so much and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. ਸੋ ਐਸੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਮੇਅਰ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਜਾਣਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ। ਉਮੀਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਖਾਸ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਈ ਹੋਵੇਗੀ। ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਖੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਤੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ PTC ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ।